So the first is leaning into your child, really honoring who they are and what they want in life. And I recommend that you get so familiar with your child. Know their likes, know their dislikes. What are their skills? What are their challenges? What are their diagnoses? And what is giftedness? Try to dive deep, get to know them, and spend as much time as you can talking with them and creating an environment at home that's safe. Our society doesn't talk about challenges. We like to hide it. But what we do know is when we don't talk about it, it leads to questions, it leads to anxiety or kind of this restless feeling of, well, what's going on? And our 2-week kiddos, they can feel really uncomfortable. They can have anxiety come up because they feel misunderstood. If we talk to them, not only about what they're going through, but what maybe others are going through, it can calm it down and it can really be reassuring for them. So as you're leaning into your child, you also lean into your family. Talk about everybody, talk with everyone. Obviously you want to be respectful of, privacy between the siblings and things like that. But if you have a child who stims, the sibling may really benefit for understanding what's going on and how that's helping their sibling. Or if one of your child has slow processing speed, they might really benefit from saying, hey, this is what this impacts your conversations like. And then they're armed with knowledge and they're curious and they're very compassionate. If we model acceptance, they get to be children and be loving and supportive. And so that's something you can do leaning in. Related to this is to really get to know your child is to give them the why behind something. If you want them to share with you, if you want them to do an experience, not only talking about that experience, but talk about why that's important. And this is also a good tip for like homework or rule following, healthy behavior, things like that. Give them the why. Why does this matter? And then find out what their perspective is on it. Because if you're encouraging them to go do something new and they go, oh yeah, that makes sense, I should do it, but I'm nervous about it. Your response as a parent is completely different than if they come to you and say, nope, I don't share that value with you, mom. And so you get to know them. You know how to have those conversations, you know what you can do. And then creating safe spaces. This might seem kind of obvious, but it's so easy to rush our kids into a situation. And so when you're thinking about what are you doing for them, if you want them to take a risk, make it safe. You can think about a time you were doing something new or you were asked to do something, you're feeling uncomfortable about it. If you imagine, having good rest, you're feeling healthy, you're feeling calm, you're going to present in one way. If you're nervous, if you lack of sleep, or maybe you're not feeling sick, it's going to go a different way. So think about that with your children is you want to set them up for success, help them feel safe, have that solid foundation so they don't have to worry about those things. This might be having a safe person, might be having sensory tools like noise canceling headphones. It might be as simple as making sure they have a hoodie or they know when to take that hoodie off. But just thinking about that with that lens can make a space really safe. When you're trying new things and putting them into new spaces, think about going small. You don't have to take a leap. If they're anxious in social situations, don't jump to a week-long sleepaway camp thinking, hey, this is going to be great. They're going to overcome it all. They'll probably shut down and they're not going to go. So do a small step. If they're mostly playing online, can they take one of those people they're playing online and pull it into the same room and play next to them? And I feel like I could talk about this topic forever here, but how to help them with coping with emotions is so important across the board for development, but really for social development too. Understanding emotions and coping with them can help them regulate. And if you're putting them into a social situation that causes anxiety, or if they have social anxiety, they're going to be in fight, flight, or freeze a lot. And you want them to know, hey, I can regulate. I know what to do with these feelings. I know what could help me. So be proactive with the talking about it. Help them pre-plan. If they're going somewhere new, what does that look like? What do they need? What do they do if something doesn't go well or if they need a break? Kind of arm them with a plan. That can help reduce the anxiety. Then encourage them to use the tools. And you use tools too, because if you can model using your coping skills, not only do you feel better, but also you can help them co-regulate. Coaching children instead of doing. I almost put on this slide, like, don't do it for them. Because if you can coach children, they're going to learn more and they're going to learn or build confidence. And so coaching involves a lot of different things. Model for them. Let them see you struggle. Let them see you succeed. If they see you being social, they're going to learn. How did my parent do that? They're going to observe it. They're going to pick up on what you do. Have a conversation with them so that you're not just sharing what you're saying, but you're hearing what they have to say. If you talk about their life, if you talk about a character they're interested in a book or a movie, you start to learn not only about them, but they're starting to learn and hear about social experiences too. And an easy conversation starter is, hey, I noticed and I wonder. So for example, you could say, I noticed you were sitting alone today. I wonder how you're feeling about that. And they may answer, they may shrug and say nothing, depending on the age and kind of their mood. But if you're noticing open-ended questions don't work, you could say, I noticed you were sitting alone today. I wonder if you were lonely. And then they might tell you, no, you're wrong. That's not what I was feeling. Or yeah, I was. Or they're going to stay quiet and they're going to think about it. Any of those options are good because you've got them thinking, you've got them processing about it and kind of figuring out, what does that feel like for me? And then also in coaching, you can role play and you can give them options. So a good example of options is, imagine you're at a family event. There's going to be a lot of pressure, especially if there's grandparents there, to say goodbye. And what does that goodbye look like? So give them options. Let them know they can give a hug, a high five, they can say goodbye, or they could wave. And then you let them choose it and you help advocate and let the other adults be okay with that. So this will encourage them to connect, but it doesn't force them to do something they don't like or they don't want to do. If in a case like that, you've given options and you see your child struggling, you can give them an out. Something like, hey, looks like right now you're not up for saying goodbye, and that's okay, let's go. You're their advocate, you can help them, and then you can process that later. Elementary school, as parents, we get to plan and we get to supervise and have our hands in so many different social experiences. So you can think about a lot of different things. But step one, the best resource is your child. Ask them what ideas they have or what interests they're willing to try. And then you can start to think about other things. Who are people that they're interested in? Who do they like to be around? Who might be people that would be kind of a stretch, like they don't really love being around them, but it could be a good learning experience, although make sure they're still safe with that. And then where are the places? Are there conferences, clubs, museums? Where are those people that they would be interested in? Where are they? And then pull in their interests. How can you make their interests social? What can you do to build upon that? So a good example is if they love competitive puzzle building and say that's online and they're doing puzzles all day, start teaching them chess and then slowly move that into, maybe you guys are playing, it's not online, and then move that into an in-person group. So you've taken something that they've loved that stimulated their brain in a certain way and you've built upon it instead of pulling something random in. You can also look at day-to-day activities at a restaurant. Have them, say hello to the waiter, order their own food, talk in families. If you sit down and have dinner, how are they engaging there? How are they sharing? If they're at a store, especially a store with something that they really like, they can ask questions. They can talk to the people there. And school is a tricky opportunity because really there's always going to be some component of socializing and advocacy that take place there. And that can be great for some people. They might want to start a club. They might want to be part of a play or an activity. And others might say, oh, hold on, I'm here for school. Don't bring the social stuff into it. So you've got to look at that and say, what works for your child? Where can you meet them? And how do you make that work for school? You might have to advocate for your child. You might have to encourage, different things because every school has a different philosophy and you have to find what works right for your kid. Online, it's a controversial topic, I know, because screen time is hard to manage, but really it's a great place for them to engage and to connect. And especially with our twice exceptional kids, they can find people who share those really specific interests. So find a way that maybe you can be comfortable with it and you can feel that they're safe. Okay, and I think this is just as important as preparing before a social activity is to recover from it. Make a plan with your child. What are you going to do? If you ask them, hey, I want you to go to this activity and I want you to try it. What does that look like after? Are they going to need some food? Do they need just quiet time? Do they need to sit with you? What does it look like? How can they help themselves? And then after, when they're feeling better, take a few minutes and open up a conversation. What did they like about their activity? What did they not like about it? Would they want to meet anybody again? Just kind of start asking some questions. And if you get nowhere, that's okay, because you're opening the door to conversation. And the more you open it, the more likely they are to walk through that door and talk with you at different times. So keep trying it, even if it feels like, hey, they don't want to talk to me right now. Read their cues and feel free to move on. If, say that activity is done and move on to the next thing.